my official shout out.
Oh, wheat.
Oh, not bad.
What are you drinking?
Oh, you'll find out.
Oh,
It's actually I blame myself for opening it too late because I think it went down a little bit from what it's supposed to be. Hang in there. Let's see. Oh, we're also doing a Elimination Chamber recap. No, I'm kidding.
I'll talk about that.
Oh, so good. I fell asleep during it, but I had to watch it the next day. Let's see. All right, may as well go. 1 second. Do you tweet or just retwizzle my tweezle? All that. I hate wearing a shirt that I can't show off. It's like right there.
The 100. That's
The hundo.
Is the movie finally out?
Oh yeah, DVD's released. You can buy it. You can rent it. All that crap.
I gotta see it first.
Yeah. Oh, you should see it. I mean, I'll let you borrow it. Got the DVD. 100. Ben Watts produced a movie.
oh, cool. Yeah.
Rent a hundo and. All right, let's get in there. So, hold on a second. I think I hear a train coming, or is it a plow? No, it's a plane. All right, we're good to go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Brian from SeacoastBeverageLab.com, and guess friggin' what? This is the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast number 113 for the 3rd of June, 2015. Man, where'd May go? I mean, it was hot last week. It's cold as heck this week, and that's New England for you. But we're back in action. We have a couple good things to talk about, including some New Hampshire beer laws, which we always hear enough about on this show. But let's get right into it. I am drinking a beer I was excited to open, and now I think I kind of waited too long to open it. Now it's kind of down a tick. The Rogue Sriracha Stout, and it is definitely has a kick to it in the back. But I think I bought it maybe a month and a half ago, and it's kind of lost the spice. But I do get it. Other than that, it's a stout. So I don't know if you guys had that yet.
Had it last night, actually.
Oh, really? What'd you think of it?
I had kind of the same thing. It's a stout with like a slow back burn to it. I didn't get like the pepper flavor, but it definitely has some heat on the back end. There were people out there that swore it was like the most revolting thing they've ever had, and I don't think it was bad. But it didn't really remind me so much of Sriracha as it did just being slightly spicy.
I'm still waiting for that beer. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be like Crime and Punishment, the Stone one, but I haven't had that one yet.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that video of people drinking it, and they're just like...
right, yeah.
But then again, I love my hot stuff anyway.
How does the spiciness compare to our local Spicy Bohemian?
Throwback's got it.
Yeah,
they made them, spicy. Sure. I mean, this is obviously, if they... yes, they do. But I'd love to see a spicy stout from them. Have they done one?
I feel like it's part of their Afraid of the Dark series.
I think they're on the spicy release.
Yeah, they've done like a Chipotle Porter, I think.
That's what it was, Chipotle Porter, and that was still spicier than this, which is Sriracha sauce, so it's pepper sauce. But I'm drinking it. It's good. I'm not gonna finish the bottle, but it's great. Carlo, what's going on?
Sweet. Hey everybody, and I am back in the U.S. and back on the wagon of drinking good beer again. I have with me a Uinta Hoodoo. Which is a Kolsch. Really nice, just kind of light, a little bit nutty. I'm enjoying thoroughly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it?
Oh, where'd you get it? Get in
we
there.
got our bootleggers around the corner from me in Top Sham here.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of our beer store. It has some great stuff and has some wow, how long has that been there stuff. But every time I go in there, there's more stuff that I haven't seen, so I get confused and dazed and stand there and go, So, but truth be told, I miss my little beer cellar.
I'm sure.
Wait, oh my God! So I checked it on Tap and it didn't tweet, but I think it will soon. It's slowing up because I think Untapped had problems yesterday. Did anyone experience some stuff?
I checked into that beer last night. Didn't have an issue.
Okay.
But I wasn't using it during the day.
The beer's too hot to check in. Oh, there it goes. It pushed to Twitter. Sorry, Sean. I didn't mean to cut you off, but what's going on, sir?
I'm Sean Jansen from twobeerguys.com, and I just went to what's in my refrigerator tonight, and I grabbed a Greenhead IPA.
Nice.
Newburyport Brewing Company.
I had their Melt Away at the festival. Oh, I love that beer. It's a great beer.
Just released last week. They had a big celebration for their second anniversary party last Saturday. I think they had about 400 to 500 people there at their festival.
Woof. Where was it held?
At the brewery.
Whoa, God, how do they fit that many people there?
It's
Outside?
outside.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
they had the area roped off, and they had a couple bands and stuff like that.
Most excellent. Most excellent. Well, yep, if you're watching live, head on over to, well, you're already at sblpodcast.com, but go to the chat, field some questions, especially if you've been to the new or any festivals this week. That's kind of what we want to get into to start. But does anyone have any, before we get into it, Carla or Sean, do you guys have anything that you did last week that might not pertain to this? Like, what did you guys do? Anything beer related? I know, Carla, did you make a venture to one of your stops?
No, I was going to try to go out to Monhegan last weekend, which is an island off the coast of Maine. You have to take a ferry to get there, and I was all excited. And then it turned out that on Saturday it was really gusty, so the seas were going to be like really bad. And then Sunday it was pouring rain, so I decided to put it off. But I've made a reservation for this weekend, so I'm going to go on Sunday up to Monhegan Brewing and go pay them a visit. Hopefully on a better day, because Monhegan Island, there's no cars on the island. You kind of hike around. So you're kind of going to be outdoors, so I didn't want to be outdoors running around in the rain. I'm not normally that much of a wimp, but I figure if
Right, yeah.
might as well try to pick a better day.
For sure. Before we get going again, I want to say happy 603. I just realized I saw a tweet from the Brew New Hampshire and NH Craft Alliance. It's
Nice.
603 Brewery, just because it's 603.
Yeah, it's June 3rd,
Yeah.
so 6.
It has nothing to do with them
Day to
per
celebrate.
se, but I mean they are friends of the show. Guest number, or I don't know what guest number, but episode number 102. So that's something. But yeah, so we're gonna kick it off by talking about festivals. Carla, I want you to talk about your article first, and then Sean and I we can pipe in with some things from what we saw at ACBF. But you had an interesting take on an article. Usually, you see a lot of press releases and stuff about, here's just a beer fest, go to it.
Yeah.
And here, here's the price, whatever. But no one really offers any guidelines as to like how to pick the right one. And I think you went ahead and did that.
Yeah, so I've been writing a monthly column for The Ballard, which is an independent publication here it's both in print and online, but here in Portland. And I kind of got, it's coming up on summer, and I'm also managing a small events calendar for what's going on in Maine beer events, and I just realized that there were so many different breweries all over the place, or different brew fests everywhere, and no one ever really sat me down and taught me how to pick a good one from a bad one. And last year I went to a few awesome ones, and I went to a few really, really bad ones. And I thought, hey, I've been to enough of these that maybe I have a little bit of advice as to how you can tell. So I guess I can maybe I'll do a shout out to the three things, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about each of them. So I kind of boiled it down to, there are three big principles that if they don't have these three things, I'm a little bit about going to the fest. And the first one is transparency, and what I mean by that is, will they tell you who's pouring? Or do they give you information ahead of time? And if they don't, why not? Because there are some that they didn't really get permission to, they haven't made all the agreements with the brewers yet. And that shows me that they're kind of not organized if they're already advertising it and they don't know what breweries are coming. Or the ones that really just don't want to show you what breweries are coming, because you're going to walk in and it's going to be the same 10 breweries that you've seen a million times, or whatnot. So that's a little sketchy to me if they won't at least provide, even if it's a preliminary list that says, subject to change a little bit. Like, that gives me a little bit more faith. I don't know how
I'm with you. I mean, I'm trying to remember. It was back in, I think it was last October, there was a news story of like a Norwegian beer fest or something, where by law they couldn't tell you who was going. So instead, on the list of the flyer, they listed who wasn't going. And I'll try to track that down. But I remember because I talked about it, and I think I'm pretty sure it was October, November of last year. And I just remember that it was super funny. But I haven't myself run across a festival where I don't know who's going, or maybe because I don't know. Maybe I have a different take on the festival that says, we have all the 58 craft brewers, but none are listed. I haven't gotten to that yet. But Shano, thoughts?
In general, getting the brewers to commit can sometimes be difficult. So there's two faux pas on it, right? You don't want to put someone on the list too early and then they back out, or even actually. Yeah. You don't even want to put someone on the list that says they're going, then all of a sudden doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, at the ACBF they had at least 5 to 7
good
breweries
call. You're right.
weren't either there or didn't even have enough product to last 3 sessions. So there's a little bit of difficult with that. And actually, even the bigger difficulty is actually getting a list prior to an event that's actually the list of what's going to be poured at it.
Oh yeah, of what's going to be poured. To me, that's like icing. Like if you can tell me, you know, or even the beers that they're going to bring for the VIP session or something like that. That's extra info, and that always makes me go, okay, you're with it, and I'll accept, you know, about a 20% difference from that, and what, you know, actually show up. That's cool. You know, I understand, but yeah, just in general, I just get a sketched out feeling when I feel like they're trying to hide it from me. So that's the whole thing about transparency. It's like, what
I think there's one trade-off there.
Yeah.
I think the trade-off depends upon the price of that.
Yeah.
Like if it's a brew fest that it's $15 and $20 in advance versus a brew fest that's $45 to $60.
Right.
Yeah. If in that situation, I mean, usually the ones that are cheaper are put on by an organization that has a I mean, a lot of times it's a charity goal,
right?
Of being able to run that money, and they really would rather have more people attend the event that would be an occasional, along with like someone that goes to Brewfest all the time, versus just really that top end, high end craft beer drinker demographic.
Yeah. And actually, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I'm involved in organizing both levels of those brewfests. You know what I mean, the $60 brewfest and the $20 brewfest.
Right. There were a couple festivals, and I'll take back what I said before, that they said if you go to the web. So transparency, I think, also goes for a lot of things, and also their website. Obviously, buy a ticket, cool, but the website has got to have the information on there. I've seen a couple of beer fest websites that say brewery list coming soon, but it doesn't come until like the last week of the festival. But to Sean's point, obviously you can't book it all. But again, you don't want to hype it up.
They have a list of who was there the previous year?
I'm sure you could look it up, but no.
But if that's on the same thing, coming soon, but here's who was there the previous year, and it's a group of breweries that you want to see.
That's still like a double. That's still kind of double-edged sword, though, is because what if you can't get those breweries back for whatever reason?
If there was a last year, and if this is a fest that happens every year, that's a pretty good indication. Like, again, it's a transparency and a trust thing. Like, they're going, okay, we don't have the exact list yet, but here's who we think is coming. You know, we'll update it as soon as we can. Like, it's kind of like they're giving you what you can to make a decision, and I appreciate that info. Because they're trying to do right by, you know, attracting people to the fest, as opposed to just going like, give us $60 and show up.
Oh my God! And a lot of these things, and I'm for every one of these topics that you wrote, or every one of these kind of themes, is it parallels so crazily well with running and races.
Oh yeah.
My wife and I did a race a couple weeks ago that you pay, and you're like, I'm not sure if we're gonna get a shirt, or they don't post what the course is. It's like. And then it kind of bleeds into another topic that down the line, but it's just like, just event in general. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Right, and all right, so we'll move on to the second one. And
wait a second, just one last comment on that first, though.
Go ahead.
I think also the timeline differential of when the beer list is, right? Yeah. If they start selling it 5-6 months in advance and it says coming soon, as Brian mentioned, then yes, be wary. If you're 2-3 weeks out, even a month out, and it still says coming soon, that's exactly when I would be more alarmed than if it was 4 or 5 months in advance, where you know like, okay, that's something I want to go check out.
Yeah.
Well, you know, like for example, I don't know offhand of how many breweries will be at the Boston Bacon and Beer Fest, but A, having gone to it in the past, and B, knowing that it's actually at Fenway, I would be pretty enticed to be like, I want to be at the first Brewfest that's at Fenway.
Right.
And honestly, I don't care what brewery's there, but I would like to be there for that first Brewfest at Fenway. So that's where like it kind of leads you right into your next question, your next statement of
the venue, basically. So that's the second. My second rule is kind of space, and this is, I understand how hard it is to get a space to host a brewfest. I get it. I totally understand. But especially like in a town like Portland or Boston, there are a couple of places that are used as venues, but the thing is that honestly, it can depend on how you use that venue. I've gone to at least 3 or 4 festivals down at the Portland Company Complex, like down in the Old Port area.
Right. Yep.
And depending on how it's set up, it can either be really good and have a good flow and like be great, or it can be horribly overpacked and poorly managed. But the one-liner I got in there is that Brewfest should be in venues larger than necessary. So it's not just enough space for that tent and a line to get in. Like you need some open spaces in between. And some of my favorite festivals, I found, like the pattern of looking back at my favorite festivals, were places where things were separated a little bit. So, like the Brewfest that they had up in Lewiston last year, that the Great Falls Brewfest that Baxter put on, they had it in this big park, and they had a big beer tent. But they also then, on the other side of the field, had where all the food trucks were. Beer camp was like that up at Thompson's Point. It gives you a chance to walk away from the beer.
Yes.
And then Taste of the Nation.
To the beer.
Taste of the Nation in Portsmouth at the Strawberry Bank.
Yes.
That's such a. I mean, you walk from booth to booth.
And well, then the one one good example, one bad example that are recent. Passport. Huge. I mean, obviously you have the whole space. Walk around.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Is Passport.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
They do a very similar event with food and wine called Taste of the Nation.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, same venue. They do it 2 different times a year.
So that great example, but one recent that kind of went from very, very good to, in my book, one of the crampiest festivals I've ever been to in a while is the New Hampshire Brew Fest at Red Hook.
Really? Where did
this past year? It got super cramped, and from between tent to tent, you can probably just put your arms out and touch like the insides of each. It was a bit claustrophobic. I don't get claustrophobic, but it was definitely they shrunk the space down for sure. You could bring chairs and sit by the band and all that, but it was one of those where I don't know what was going on, but it was definitely cramped. One of my favorite festivals, but it was kind of one of the ones where you couldn't take a beer and walk away. You had to like take it and then like kind of shimmy like out of the way. It was kind of weird.
So you're talking the one in October and not the Red Hook Fest.
What's the difference?
Red Hook Fest is the big band show.
Oh yeah, I don't call that a beer fest. That's not a beer fest.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, which is funny, the space change actually gave them more foot space than in previous years. Of that event.
Compensate the number of people.
Yeah, I don't know. It was the most cramped it's ever been for sure. And I've heard from multiple people too. Even some of the brewers are like, "Yeah, it's kind of cramped here."
The one event that I would say it's from it would be from Maine would be the space that's used for the Maine Brew Fest, which is in November, right at the beginning of the month, where it grew out of its space. Yeah. And what would definitely happen is that you would get a sample. You would move 2 steps to the right or left, and you would get in the long line that goes all the way across the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that to me that fits fully into your description there of like, yeah, they sold more tickets, but I mean in that event, I think they could have put the breweries down the middle. And so that people weren't going across from each other, or had less vendors, or done it a little bit different on space-wise to actually make it so that you don't basically get a sample and then get into the end of the other line, drink your sample while you're in the line, and then get another sample and do that over and over again. I think I find that extremely frustrating.
A local example, I'll keep it local, is that got better than it was the previous year was the Beer and Chili Fest in Exeter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Powder Keg got better than it was last year, which is good because it's only it's going on their 3rd year.
Yeah.
So it bring your chairs, nice sprawled out space, right on the Swayze Parkway. They probably took some feedback and made it better, which is good, So to your point,
here's even going to be a new difference for this this next October. It's not going to be the same day as the Exeter, just the regular festival day. So it's going to be totally separate. So they'll have more actual space to be used.
Oh, nice! So they can
be a lot easier for people to get in and out. Sweet. You won't have as many vendors up and down the street, but it'll be more related to the chili and the beer being featured primarily.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't want too much space. I mean, there's definitely a good medium between like a nice amount of space, but you don't want to be, with the exception of Strawberry Banks, it's awesome. I mean, they scatter them, but like you don't want to be sprawling over like for looking for a beer.
And I think the thing about space, the balance there is that if it gives you enough of a break, you know what I mean? Like if you just have to walk a little bit to get to the food, a little bit to go closer to the music, a little bit to you're not rugging yourself ragged going back and forth between beer stands, but maybe just segregating the beer over here, putting the music somewhere, putting the food somewhere, so you can decide what you're participating in at any point. And I like that much better than let's just smush it all together. And my big pet peeve there, and again, I sound like a cranky old lady. We were talking about this earlier. The band is so loud that you can't even hear anything.
Oh, I know. God, that's the worst.
That's a productivity thing for me. Like, if it's just a little bit further away, I'm totally all about the band. Like, it's awesome. But when the band is like here, and the guy pouring the beer is here, it's just I can't even hear the name of the beer that they.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, think about Portland Beer Camp. There was good amount of space there.
Right.
They utilized.
Yeah, and they had a ton of space on that, and that's actually I'll give a quick shout out. We might have him on in a later episode, but that's where the Maine Brewers Guild Fest is happening this July at that same venue. Wow. They're going to do something really similar where they've got the beer under that like superstructure, and then they're going to have food trucks out on that side area. They're going to have music and whatnot.
Nice.
And just giving enough space to chill, to take a break, to have a conversation, to to do something other than just like you were saying, Brian, just shuffle to the next.
Yeah. I mean, as obviously as this might get into the profit thing, is sometimes the festival you don't have that much time.
Right.
But you also want enough time to just like have a beer, walk. I mean, but you also want to make your money's worth, which almost sounds like a kind of a boozy thing to say, but you do. You want to have your money's worth at a beer fest, but you want to have enough time to try it. I don't know. Which is
why I tend to go to brew fests that have been going for a couple years, because they'll try it one way, they'll get a little bit of feedback, they'll go like the Powder Keg has been getting better every year. They've had it. I like the ones that you can tell they thought about it. They went, okay, that we probably could have sold more tickets, or okay, maybe that was too many. Let's split it into 2 sessions, or whatever their conclusions are. Give them a chance, but
For space-wise, I'm pretty happy that I work on a festival that's in August that's on a baseball stadium.
Nice, yeah.
So you have that
got enough room,
fenced-in area. You have that large space area where you can move things around each year to kind of learn from what were the better flows and things of that nature. And we're even this year, because it's a Gate City Brew Fest in August, we're actually moving the band from the outfield to home plate to kind of bring that to like more the band's actually in it, so you can actually hear the band at some spots.
Nice, neat.
And so to kind of segue, and I'll tie all three of these in, so I don't know if this is a segue or a conclusion, but so kind of the worst parts about having a festival in a small space is you want to have enough brewers there, to have people to make profit for the beer fest. A lot of some beer fests will have it's a small space, but they try to cram it with all these brewers to get people to come, resulting in complete chaos in space. So maybe what is, I mean, let's go on and talk about the profit. But I figure usually having more brewers is profit, because they want more people to come. But I don't know. But yeah, let's talk about profit, Carla. What are you talking about there?
So my point in the profit area was that I love going to beer fests that are supporting some kind of a cause, and I will put up with a lot of flaws or pay a little bit more, if it's for charity, just because I know that at the end of the day my money's going to something worthwhile. I'm not saying that all beer fests have to be for charity. That's not the case at all.
Right.
But when you look at who's making the money from a beer fest, is where I just kind of turn. It kind of goes back to transparency just a little bit. It's like, who do I really want to give my money to? And
totally. Something
that I dubbed, and people are probably going to get mad at me about this, but There's something that I've dubbed called the Beer Fest Industrial Complex, like the wedding industrial complex, you know what I mean? Where literally there are companies that do nothing but go from city to city, put on a beer fest in a certain size venue, sell a certain amount of tickets, get a profit, and keep going. And just the problem for me is that there's no local interaction there at all, and sometimes that relationship can be a little bit negative. Like, you're swooping in there, you're assuming all these breweries are going to come, you're charging all these locals, a thing, but you really don't know anything about the local beer scene. And to me, those are the ones that give me the most, like, warning flags, okay? Like, the ones that are like, oh, it's the 50th city, and
we're on tour, come on.
It's like, I really love how awesome our Brewers Guilds are, and all of the locals that are, local organizations that get together to make these fests. And the minute that, somebody comes in, and the beer industry has tons of places in which, businesses can exist and profits can be made. It doesn't mean that I have to be the one giving you $60 to go to a fest when I could go to one next weekend that maybe either benefits my local guild or is run by people from here. And that's part of the localization thing. It's part of the beer community thing. I don't know, but the minute I come and I'm recognizing that this is just some stop for them. They got off the, they unpacked the truck like a carnival. Right. They put up the fest. They charged a lot of people money, and then they left. Is not the model that I go after, and those are the ones that I've not enjoyed.
And it definitely depends, fest to fest. But I mean, there are some festivals like the Drink Craft Beer Fest where I'm not sure where the money's going, so I'm not going to speak much to that. But they had a fest where every brewery made a beer for that festival. So if my money's going towards that, cool. Like at that point, I really don't care where the money goes, because I know the product I'm getting from that is that's unique, things like that.
Right.
So but things like you were saying, like the touring festivals, some are great. The one you guys had in Portland, the Sierra Nevada one, Beer Camp, was there was breweries to back that up. And I don't care if it was paying for Russian River's gas in their bus to come up to Portland to pour beer. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
But there are some that just set up shop. We have all these craft breweries, but then again, going back to transparency, sometimes they don't list them.
Right.
So
the phrase that I see all the time that they all use to advertise is all your favorite breweries, and it's like, no, I'm pretty sure that you do not have all my favorite breweries. I'm pretty sure that you have Guinness and Chalk Top, and you
listen.
And they try, and I respect small business people, but when you have this many choices for beer events over the summer. Yeah.
Well, and this is it's kind of like a weird thing that might be happening is they're trying to come into the business of craft beer, but not understanding what's really going on in the industry, which we're going to start seeing with actual breweries opening up sometime. I don't see it super soon, but it's just kind of one of those things now that people are trying to take advantage of these festivals. It might scare people away, like, oh, there's so many festivals, I hate beer.
And that was actually one of the reasons that I decided to write this article, is because, if you just go to one of these kind of, corporate-y, whatever ones, you might go, okay, all beer festivals suck. And you're like, well, really, they don't. But if that's your impression of it, it's kind of like the conversations we, have been having just as a beer community on quality of new breweries, right? Because it's the same thing. If you go to, your local craft brewery and it sucks, you're just going to think that craft beer is kind of crappy. And, so how do we separate the good from the bad, and how do you identify it, and how do you support the ones that are good? So that was the motivation for me to write this, I guess.
Well, just as you guys know, for me specifically, I work and I've built a for-profit festival and a for-donation festival. Actually, I do multiples that go to either Boys and Girls Club or the local Rotaries or the different organizations. But I do one in February that's a for-profit event, and really the idea on that one is to be able to create an experience that's like none other. And because it is a for-profit event, you try to sell as many tickets as you can, but we also purposely limit the amount of tickets that we sell on that, so that the experience for everybody across the board is a certain experience. So, like, we could, we could go to a different venue, make it like 3 times as larger, but it wouldn't have the same sort of mystique or feeling or even overall purpose of what we have been doing. That's not saying that we won't ever take it to another venue, but that specific event that's in Portsmouth it really is a for-profit event, and what it allows us to do is actually buy very expensive kegs to be able to pour. Yep. It allows us to have a very unique VIP session. Yep. And a lot of that, so it goes hand in hand to be able to do that.
But there's also, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but that awesome, and obviously you found kind of the way to make the experience worth the money. I think what we're gonna find is once more festivals come is where people are gonna give their money to is, well, I'm paying $25 for this festival, and there's more breweries here. There's also a VIP session for a little bit more. But there's this other festival that I like to go to in February, but I only had this much money. So it's all about trying to compare. If you're running a beer fest, trying to compare, this festival has this, and
quality.
Not even worry about where the money goes, but just saying, like, here's what the value of this festival is, and here's what can we do, how can we justify this cost, and like not specific to your fest, but not bullshit it.
Yeah.
Don't sugar dust it and say, oh, we're doing this because craft beer fans like us and everyone that listens to the podcast will understand what's going on here. Like, sure, you're giving us popcorn, but who the hell cares? I get more breweries at this festival in the street.
But the thing that really you said, Sean, though, is about putting it with the attendees in mind. It doesn't matter to me, if a fest is making a profit, if it's actually designed for the enjoyment of its attendees, as opposed to treating them as just a ticket holder that they can put as many in a room as they can possibly fit, and at the end of the day, okay, yeah, everybody had kind of an okay time. But my favorite fests are the ones that they do think about their attendees and go, okay, what would make this worthwhile? What can we change? What could we improve? And what is the balance? Is this enough people? Is this too many people? Is the venue too big? Like, it's about the attendees and the breweries being showcased, not the maximization of everything. Not up to 11 just so they can make as much money as they possibly could.
If I could mention if you're going to do one more point and add from 3 to 4 in your article, yeah, I would call it.
I remember words, but yeah.
No, okay. So you're limited to the amount of space.
I would have 6 more.
I get you there.
I would put one more category and say outside the box.
Outside of the box, I like that because.
And in the description of outside the box, I would say, who's doing not the cookie cutter vanilla Brewfest versus something that I go, you know what, I haven't seen that before, or I've seen this before but done a different way. I really like that. I'm glad that they did it.
Yeah.
And it could be as easily as what vendors that they have there. Did they go and actually find the local beer-related locals, whether it's like the local liquor store who's doing like beer games, or is it you have the local beer bus there, or you have someone as our own celebrity right here on the show with us that he's signing books at the event, or did they bring a food vendor that actually specifically cooked with beer for that?
Well, yeah, okay, but all that aside, you also have, and I don't want to cut you off because you're obviously promoting some festivals too, but I want to make sure that we're including.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
No, I wasn't.
Right. I wasn't saying. I'm completely with you. Like the first fest that I went to that decided instead of just providing shitty pretzels and whatever, that they were going to bring local food trucks in to feed people. Like that was awesome. The ones that, like, things like Passport, where you've really got these partnerships between breweries and restaurants, that's awesome.
With they cook something with the food at the Passport event. They cooked using the beer in there, paired the brewery and the beer selection next to it, which is perfect.
Yeah,
I wasn't actually thinking of any specific festival. I was thinking of every festival out there that does something that's like beer and bacon. Some sort of like the jazz, the Blues and Brews. That's in
Yep.
Westford, where it's really beer is just a small part of it. It's
Right.
actually like a 20-band blues fest jam that throughout the whole day you can go and hear music from local, regional, national blues people just jamming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's to me that's something a little bit different.
I think those, like, yes, think outside the box. Like, that kind of competition needs to happen in the cities like Portsmouth, Portland. But luckily, in a long, I say long state, in a big state like New Hampshire, the town like of Lincoln and Littleton can have their festivals, and people will come to them because that's the only time they can get these beers.
Absolutely.
So there's way more competition in the cities, because Portsmouth has a festival. Great, I can get all the beer they have there at this bar down the street. So provide the experience that I can get, and you got my money.
I think the difference is, like, if you're gonna have 5 festivals at Portland, right?
Oh,
they
yeah.
can't all be the same. If
I'm
you're
sure
gonna
there
have
are.
one in Littleton, then that's perfectly fine. You know
That's
what I mean?
what I'm saying. Yeah,
because
right.
it's like the geographic separation between the other things. If somebody
Yeah.
wanted to do 3 Brewfests in Littleton, you're like, okay.
Well, tell
you're
me
not
why
gonna
I
be
should
able
go to this one, right?
Yeah, I mean, because the only reason why you would go to a brew fest over just going to a bar that has the exact same beers is to get more tastings for less money. That's at that point, that's kind of how that lies, especially in Portsmouth. Is you can have, there's a lot of festivals, but in order to get a lot more beer for, say, 4 or 5 pints worth, otherwise you're going to a bar and you're tipping and doing stuff like that.
You know, it's weird though, because of my Brewfest experience. I've actually
Wait, you
never
have brew fest experience?
I've never had that thought.
What?
For the amount of Brewfests that I've gone to.
Oh, I always
never-
have that thought.
I've never actually had the thought that said, I'm going to go to this Brewfest because I can get more than what I'm going to have at that bar. Because if I actually had that thought, I would actually say, well, why spend any money? I'm going to sit on my couch and drink all day.
Exactly. Which is why I find myself. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, go. You go.
No, my actual thought is, who am I going to go out there and meet, and what new things am I going to try that I've never had before?
Yeah, no,
that's my reason of, like.
That's hand in hand. That goes hand in hand though.
Yeah.
Because if there's beers that are rare, but you can get them down the street at a different bar, it's like, well, I don't need to go.
I don't know if I would say I don't necessarily go to a Brewfest for rare. I mean, even if we talk about the ACBF, I went to the ACBF to, like, say, like, you know, I haven't physically gone out and purchased that, whether or not it was available in my area or not.
ACBF is not even part of this discussion. 640 beers from 150 breweries. So I mean, that's like the festival that anyone should go.
There's a lot of times I can go to
But it's not a quantity thing. I do the calculation in my head of, is there going to be stuff at this fest I haven't had or that I'm interested in?
Right.
It's not amount to me.
And I guess that's not what I meant. I meant like more. Yeah, right. I'm with you on that. And it came out definitely kind of boozy again. But no, I totally meant that if I can get, these are all examples, I can get Sam Adams, Harpoon, Earth Eagle, and, you know, Stoneface at this bar over here. Why would I want to go to this festival where I can just get them there? I mean, obviously the human interaction is one thing for sure, but at the end of the day, if you can get the same beers at this beer festival that you can get somewhere else, the beer festival needs to do something else, like you said, Sean. Think outside the box.
Yeah, think outside the box.
Bring me to it. You know.
Yeah.
But
Give
yeah,
me and you know what? And the amount that you need to think outside the box has a direct equation, I think, to cost.
Yes, and also don't be too like outside the box, because there's some weird ones. I'm sure there could be some weird thoughts, some weird ideas. Keep the ideas sane.
Just started thinking about them in my head.
Yeah, I was gonna say, biggest baby contest, but
yeah, the Techno Beer Fest.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like,
it's dark, and it's glow lights everywhere. Your cup glows in the dark.
And I'm a fan. And I'm a fan of
that
these.
like Heineken cup that like lit up when it was full or something.
Oh my god. And then, but
we all have a beer rave. Come on, nobody's done a beer rave. Come on.
I need to do a beer rave now. Jeez, so let me flick this light. But
I'll provide the music.
We're starting to see a trend of festivals that aren't really technically festivals, like they last all day. Like Night Shift is having one this weekend with video games, where it's all day. They bring the arcade cabinet, or was it last weekend?
No,
it's this weekend.
Starts tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah. So I mean, like those kind of things. It's not, you don't buy a ticket. You go there and you buy tickets for beers and stuff. But it lasts all day, so you don't have the pressure of like a 5 hour, like, oh, I got to be there at this time. Like Novari Res, they don't call them beer festivals, but like where the wild beers are, things like that last forever. I like those ideas. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of making the commitment.
Just as long as you don't have to wait to get in.
Totally. Oh God, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of waiting to get in, did you see that line at ACBF? Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah. What it started? It opened at 1 o'clock on Saturday, and someone was actually first in line at 10 a.m.
Yes. Yeah, I saw the first tweet, but then they didn't. Then
what is the point?
no, well, because then the last person didn't, or like the last person that like was in that long line didn't get in until like 1:20, 1:30, and at that time, at that point, you already lost half an hour, and that's kind of
that's
which might go ahead.
But the problem is that the person that showed up at 1:30 got in at 1:33.
That's what happened at every Todd Mott event. It's like, what do we wait in line for? We all waited in line for 3 hours, except this guy that came 3 hours after that. Awesome.
Exactly.
That
goes back to waiting in line for something that you believe in. When you mean the Todd Mott, not
without a doubt, yes.
Beer
but
event.
It's still kind of like a son of a, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But it just came at this point. It's the idea of not knowing what the line's going to be. Any final thoughts on this? I know we kind of want. That's kind of.
Most of our show, sorry.
No. I was gonna say, like, this.
The only other little tidbit I put in there is that if you're not sure, ask a brewer. Ask at a brewery. Because if there's a fest coming up and you go, hey, I'm thinking about going to such and such a fest, and they gotta go, like, they will be honest with you about the good ones and the bad ones, or yeah, totally come and see us at that. It's a great fest.
Right.
People that I know.
And you can expand that to your local beer geek too.
Oh yeah, totally, absolutely.
It's not just
the truth.
Like, a brewer's always going to have a different perspective,
right?
Yeah.
Than necessarily a filler.
People will know. People have opinions, and people like sharing those opinions.
Yeah, everybody does.
Yep.
Carla, if you don't mind, we do have one question from I believe it's Uncle Frank. Or the infamous Uncle Frank we all love. So, and this is directed specifically to you.
Uh-oh.
So, Carla, do you think part of the problem is fest organizers don't listen to other people's advice? The new fest coming in Dover with all small breweries, who is advising them?
Yeah, I mean, feedback is... It's funny because, like, so I plan events that are not Brewfest. Like, so I'm a little bit different than you. The way that I look at it is that if you have zero experience doing this before, you can either be a renegade and do it, reinvent the wheel, or you can actually seek out, events and fests, like, just to try to get help. The ones that kind of go it alone and you just see them struggle, it just makes me go, I don't know. I wish there was. I mean, the brewers guilds in certain states are there to kind of help with that stuff if people have no experience doing that. But there really isn't a huge, giant support. But what I'm hoping is that when fests don't go right, like when there's a fest that gets some negative feedback, or there's one that's, not so well organized, that hopefully there's enough people feeding back to them that they will either listen to that, and then learn something. Like, I'm an optimist. I'm hoping that, maybe if they don't listen to the advice in advance, they might listen to the feedback after.
Yep.
I hope that happens. But I would, there's all of the brewers involved in all these fests, too, have been to millions of fests. You know what I mean? So you could even, ask them, as you're doing this, like, oh, we're thinking about doing this. Is that okay with you? And they all go, what? There's things that should tip you off if there's something wrong. I don't know which.
I would say that can actually be hard, because sometimes when you get advice from too many different directions, or advice that may lead you down a direction that may not be the best.
Right.
I would actually say the best way to be a fest organizer is that you have to go to a fest. Go to multiple.
Yes.
Go to as many fests as you can.
Many different fests of different sizes. Yep.
Volunteer at more of those festivals than you can ever imagine.
Yep.
C, get on a committee that's organizing one of the festivals. And then D, really go out there, start your own, but then bring people in with you that have knowledge of actually running a festival.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And have a committee, even if you have to start a year in advance and meet at the beginning once a month, and then when you get down to it once or twice a month, that is the best way to do it. And it's not hard to find somebody out there willing to guide and assist in building a beer festival.
So
yes, agree. Yep.
Agreed. Which, Sean, and you cut me off. Or you didn't. I didn't even start talking. But it brings up a great point. It's like we keep asking these brewers, advice about starting a brewery. I figure maybe we can give a couple, pieces of advice to start a brew fest, because as you two were talking about that, I'm thinking to myself, it's the same thing about if someone wants to start a brewery. It's like you don't just go, whoosh, roll at the table, breweries here. It's like, oh, you didn't ask anybody about experience or whatever. But I guess to end the fest conversation, Carla, if you were to give like 3 pieces of advice, kind of like what Sean did, to people that want to start a fest, things they should look out for. Obviously, you listed it, you wrote about it, and go read the full thing. People don't. I mean, Carla's not here to read the whole thing. This isn't an audiobook.
Beerbabe.com.
But so I'll say a couple things that aren't on there for me.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna, if somebody came up to me tomorrow and said, I want to start a beer fest.
Yeah.
Do your homework, just like Sean just said. Like, go and look up what's been done. Go attend stuff. Go ask people at all parts of the food chain. Just do the work of doing that. Don't assume that you can look at a business plan on paper and just go, oh yeah, that'll totally work. You have to ask. You have to figure it out. Second, get to know your Brewers Guild or local organization like that, because they can help you with a lot of the legal crap. There's a lot of stuff about permits and tickets and amount of sample sizes and
permits,
test pipes and bullshit. And we've had people like the Shelton Brothers thing, ran afoul of that because they, did the wrong type of permit and all this other, legal mumbo jumbo. So find someone to work through you on that, because you cannot wing that stuff. If you screw that up, it is majorly bad.
Yeah.
And then the third is, don't be afraid to start a little bit smaller than you want to be.
Yes, good call. Okay? Good call.
Like, you want to be that fest that happens every year that thousands of people go to, but start with something that's manageable and then figure out how to build it out. That's my advice. I think that's
don't expect a profit on year one.
What'd you say?
Don't expect a profit on year one.
Nope.
Yep.
Those are my.
Or even year. I mean, year one is relative. It's just a number. You guys probably know. I mean, I started a festival that I thought was the best concept in the world. 3 weeks before the fest, I had to cancel it. Never did it. Had a venue. It was would have been a really fun idea, but just never happened.
Was it a festival that was just inside of like a bouncy house?
No, that would have been great.
It
was actually a Brewers Olympics festival, where
I remember that.
I set up obstacle courses.
Yep.
So basically, like this.
Don't give it away. Keep it up here. Hey, whoa, keep it up. You never know. You're like, fuck it, it's gone.
Yeah, whatever. I don't think I'll go. I don't think I'll go there unless someone wants to. If they're listening to the show and reaches out to me and we rekindle that conversation.
All right, Kickstarter. Let's do this. Everyone's doing Kickstarter for whatever the hell they want.
I'll tell you, that's the one thing that's not going to happen. If you see a Kickstarter to start a brew fest, do not sign up.
Do not, no. Yeah.
No.
Unless the Kickstarter
back all of
the
it.
only way to sell tickets. That you got a free ticket to go to the brew fest by paying a nominal fee to the Kickstarter.
That would actually
be
hilarious.
That would be genius. I'm going to start a Kickstarter. Brian, let's do it. Our first Kickstarter that by sponsoring the Kickstarter, you get a ticket to the Brewfest.
You can.
How is that any different than selling tickets to a Brewfest?
Oh my God, Seacoast Beverage Lab Brewfest. Let's do it.
Kickstarter.
Yes. Oh my God, SBO Brewfest.
Think tank here.
Okay. Yeah. We're not even gonna. I mean, this is live for a couple people right now, but we're not gonna put this up These ideas are too
Hashtag
hot.
copyright.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys see that? Twitter's
Yeah.
trying to copyright the hashtag.
Oh God. And yeah, never mind. I was gonna go somewhere else with that, but nope. But my piece of advice is pretty much kind of overlaying for anywhere that has a lot of festivals, because there are usually, and especially in Portsmouth and in Portland, there are festivals that are kind of like bookends of the year or at certain times of the year. Pick the right time to have it. At this stage in the game, this is free advice from the podcast. At this stage in the game, there are brewfests that happen pretty much all summer long. Be that festival that happens in the fall, or be that festival that happens in the early spring. Like pick the right time. Otherwise, you're gonna have people that already spent money on another festival, or are already going to another festival because they feel like it's like the best. So, and then obviously just times in general. But my big thing is scheduling. Is this summer? I mean, there's one in July that's brand new. There's one in July over in Dover, which is excellent. There's one in June, which is the Lincoln, the New England Brew Fest, and there's one in August. So they're back to back to back, and there's more.
But basically, be aware of the established ones. It goes with it doing your homework, right?
Right, totally.
I think I have 4 in June.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's like, obviously do your homework, and obviously some of these festivals might be similar in that. So if you're starting one, not if you're going to one, but if you're starting one, look at the schedule.
I think your point, Brian, or what Carlos said, was that if you are looking at the specific size, and you're going to do a brew fest that you're going to do for 150 people, and you can get 150 people to go from your local area, then do it.
Oh, sure.
Don't be worried that there's 3 other brewfests on that same day. That 150 people is going to be specific to the demographic of why that you're creating that brewfest. Maybe you're the Rotary Club. Maybe you're Big Brothers Big Sisters. Maybe you are an organization, and maybe you're the Exeter Chamber of Commerce. And you're like, okay, we're going to do a festival for 150 people. Do it, because then you can get that under your belt. You could figure out the logistics and how to actually make it happen. And then if you're gonna sustain, you got to figure out how to make it better.
Yep. That's all I got. Carla, what beer fest are you excited for this summer?
2. The one that's put on by Baxter I mentioned earlier, Great Falls Brew Fest, June 20th. Awesome fest. Just go to Lewiston. Trust me, Lewiston is not as scary as everyone makes it sound. It's awesome. So well run. And they just do such a good job of taking care of the attendees. It's awesome. What I did last year is I volunteered for one session, and I attended the second session, and I'm planning on doing that again, because it was great. It was fantastic.
Nice.
And then the second is near and dear to my heart, and I think it overlaps with one of the ones in New Hampshire, unfortunately, is the Maine Brewers Guild Fest on July 25th, which is at that Thompson Point location, which is awesome.
Right.
So I am super excited about that fest, because
Sweet.
When we were at beer camp, all I was thinking was, please run more beer fests here, please. Because it's not, it's just such a nice space. It's on this little spit of land. It's got the little overhang and then just has all this room for music and food and just chilling. You can bring up, they're allowing you to bring like camp chairs. You can just come and chill out, stake out a spot, hang out.
Nice.
I wanted to give a quick shout out before we go.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a Bantam
American.
Whoa, American.
Nice. And the story is basically that they made this taste like apple pie. But what I want to mention is that this tastes like my apple pie.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, okay, that's crazy. And then I read the back.
Who stole your recipe?
Well, the thing is, I read the back of the thing, and they're using the apples that I use in my pie in this cider. That's why it tastes like my freaking pie.
That's freaking crazy.
So I was
Send out a cease and desist.
Well,
cease and desist right now.
Yep.
Beer Babe, you stole my apple pie recipe.
Send beer.
But I can have it without making it.
Unless they put beerbabe.com on every can, I think that you should start a legal action and don't.
She's gonna go to the beer stores and just like write it underneath.
Yes.
Yeah,
you should start. This is
well, they stole my apple pie.
This is collaboration and litigation.
Yep. That sounds like a Hill Farmstead beer.
Yeah.
But Sean, two festivals that you're excited about, and they could be ones that you're going to. You're going to all of them.
I'm going to say this. I will not say a brewfest in New Hampshire.
Whatever you want.
No, on my bucket list is Brewery Comes to Ommegang.
Are you going to go there this year?
We've talked about it. It's unfortunately
is that Belgium comes to Cooperstown?
Yeah, Belgium comes.
Yes.
Brewery comes home again. It's Belgium.
I knew what you meant.
Well,
You
I
know
do
what I
say.
meant.
I knew what you meant.
Belgium comes to Cooperstown. It's on my bucket list.
It's
Nice.
on my bucket list too, and I keep missing it. It's sold out though, isn't it?
It's on. It's very
Yeah.
close to my wedding anniversary, which makes it very difficult every year to sign
Very
up.
easy. Very easy.
Very, very difficult.
Easy.
So it's been a challenge of ever going to that, but this year, if it happens, it happens. The other Brewfest on my bucket list that I don't think will happen in 2015, but if anyone wants to bring me as their, I will pour for them at the fest for 3 days, is the GABF in Denver.
I'd go. I definitely want to go.
That's on my list. I went to Stone Anniversary Brewfest last year. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wasn't on my bucket list at the time, but it really was an amazing festival. They Stone Brewery put on a really good event. I would actually like to go to that beer and bacon fest in Boston at Fenway.
Too many toots.
That sounds
Just saying
good.
it out loud.
Too many toots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll
And
toss.
Brian, which Brewfest would you like to go to?
Oh, look at that! Tossing the ball to me. That's my job. I got to toss my own ball here. Oh, that sounded weird. Never mind. Bad thoughts out of my head. Leave. So if we're talking bucket list festivals, the email just went out a couple weeks ago. I think, and the raffle's already over. I think for the Hill Farmstead, the one up the farm.
Anniversary.
Yeah, so that's always one that I see people go, and they do it really well. I like. We're not going to go back to this discussion much, but how it's a lottery, so tons of people can apply to get a raffle ticket, and if you win, you get to bring a guest. You get to buy a ticket to bring a guest as well. So it's awesome. Love it. The ones I'm looking forward to, or I love it, I want to go to it. So if anyone wins and wants to bring me, like Sean said, come on in, bring me in there. But for this summer, I'm very excited as usual for the New England Brew Fest up in Lincoln. My wife and I usually like going up there a couple days early to see the sights and all that. Going up, it's the 26th, which is this month. My God, it's
Are you gonna be signing books again?
I will not be. The books will be there. They will already be signed because I'll bring the books. I'm not gonna have a table there.
You don't want to get the people's elbow.
Yeah, geez. Well, it's so great. I'll talk about it when it's closer to the event. Great event. Mike and I had a table there last year. It was very awkward for us to have a table selling books at a beer fest. We sold a lot of books, but we didn't like the people coming up to us and say, "What beer do you have?" It's like, well, we don't really have a beer, but we have a book, that kind of thing. But great festival. Check it out. It's and that's another it's a 3-day thing. It starts with a beer dinner either at Woodstock Brewery or a brewery on the train in Lincoln. So my wife and I are doing the dinner train, which is all beer dinners, and then it ends with the documentary Brew New Hampshire. So on Sunday, so that'd be something to check out. And then I would say what's that?
I don't know. There's a very possibility that I'm in the movie.
Oh, sweet. Check it out. And then I would say The Passport is one of my favorites. But again, coming up is one in Dover, which I was talking to
What's the date?
It's the 11th.
Oh, I'm
Or
gonna
the
be.
10th?
Dang.
Seacoast Micro Brew Fest, put on by the guys at
Seventh
Settlement. Yes.
It was originally called Nano Brewfest, right?
Yeah, which is
like it's impossible.
But what I like about that festival, and I've yet to buy the tickets, but I will toot sweet, is the VIP also includes VIP parking, which in downtown Dover on a Saturday could get pretty crazy. So I recommend checking it out. It also includes some special beers and an extra hour, but the VIP parking, get in there.
Unless you use Uber.
Uber in Dover? Oh, Uber's still here. Portsmouth's trying to kick it out, but this is not the Uber podcast.
We have it in Portland.
Oh my God! But I'm sure they embrace it. But in Portsmouth, the cab company is trying to kick us out. All right, so that's gonna do it. We had another thing on the back burner. We can save till next week, but I'll leave it out there for people to go look. It's just New Hampshire saying no to the breakfast stout label yet again by Founders, which is
It made it much further.
Yeah.
This
right.
year's.
So keep your ear to the ground on that story. We'll just put it at that, because it might go crazy. It might get crazy, but some of the comments though are pretty good on this post. couldn't like this one guy, and I'll leave it after this is, couldn't they just put a mustache on the baby? Problem solved. Good stuff right there. But yeah, and it again, breakfast stout. The bottles are banned because of the baby on the label in the state of New Hampshire. But you can find it on tap by seeing they have an alternate label that just says breakfast stout.
Yeah, if you actually live in the 603 and you Google breakfast stout, you will see like a fuzzed out sort of like when you try to go to like a pay channel and you couldn't get it beforehand.
Yeah.
That's baloney.
That's what's baloney is what you just wrote in the chat. All right, but that's gonna do it. Carla, anything coming up in the next week that you want to give a quick shout out to besides the article? Go check it out.
Can you give me 2 seconds to come back around to me? Like we're at a.
Sure, I'll go first. So, only thing I got going on this weekend is Sunday. Myself and old friend of the show, Mike Meredith, will be signing books at the Nashua Barnes & Noble. So you can find us there, and then you can find us from 11 to 1 at Barnes & Noble, and then at 1 o'clock you can find us sitting and eating and drinking at Martha's Exchange for sure. Nice. And big shout out to Martha's Exchange. Greg and the brewery was there. Total shocker. I looked over them on the list. Like I didn't even know they were showing up, which is great. They're at the ACBF. It's great.
They haven't missed it in years.
And it was my bad. I look at him like, Greg, what the hell are you doing here? But yeah, so you can find us there, 11 to 1, Barnes & Noble in Nashua, and then come say hey. And even if you have the book, just come say hey. We need people. Our last Barnes & Noble signing was not a lot of beer drinkers, but a lot of questions, a lot of interesting questions. Shano, what do you got?
Really, the weekend for me is not going to be super crazy. It is for all those folks in DC Savor Weekend, which I kind of wish I was there with them. But instead, there's a small farm not too far from me called the Farm at Eastman's Corner that's doing like a family fun day from like 3 to 8. There's a couple breweries there pouring beer that I may just go and check out and say hello. It's just a day to check out the farm and bring the kids and, well, not my kids, but our nieces and nephews to a local farm.
Awesome. But you're not shearing sheep this time?
No shearing sheep this time. That's only once a year, April.
Damn it. All right, I'll be there for the next one. Because I need a quick trim.
You need a trim, that's for sure.
Yes, a quick trim. Oh, no, not me. All right. Carla, yes?
Yeah, so the only thing I'm heading out to do this weekend, planned anyway right now, is the trip to Mohegan that I mentioned earlier. So look for some tweets and pics from that. It's part of my quest to visit all of the breweries in Maine, and I made some progress, and then new breweries opened. So I now have 23 that I still need to visit. So they just opened a new brewery in Lubec, Maine, which is incredibly far from where I live, and as well are going to be opening one in York, which is not that far from where I live. So there are 2 new ones so it was 3 forward and then 2 back. So
you say York?
York, yeah.
What's going on there?
Oh, I'm sorry, Wells. There's a brewery called Theory Brewing Company that opened for a week, and then shut down and is moving to a new location. So somebody, actually another beer writer in Portland, mentioned it to me. He's like, "Oh, you've been over to Theory Brewing yet?" And I'm like, "Who?" So they had opened very quietly. Then now they're moving and renovating this new space. So they're going to reopen probably in a week or so. But it was like this weird limbo where we all kind of looked at each other and went, "Did you know about that? I didn't know about that."
Yeah.
So I owe them a visit, at some point. But you can kind of follow my little Beer Quest adventures on Facebook. I've been kind of posting a little bit about where I'm planning to go. I'm trying to work out with Chad to go up to Bangor one day and go tour up all the breweries there.
Nice. Oh my God! If you guys land on a date, just let me know.
We're working on it. So.
Just so I can be jealous.
Yeah.
I owe him a trip up there.
I'll put all my ats to you. I'll be like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can you get anything at Oil Brewing Company, at Flyers,
boo.
at Turnham, at Squaretail, at Black Bear Brews, at Sea Dog.
It's crazy. What's going on up there? God.
It's exploding up there.
And
I don't talk about it enough, and Chad will probably yell at me, but there's a lot happening up that way that I'm not familiar with, which is why I need Chad to be my Sherpa.
Yes, we got to have him back on the show, too.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian, if we could just mention
Yeah,
that.
that's why I did. I teed it up. Swing it.
Yeah, we so Carla,
Yes.
you may remember. Nope, listen. You may remember Johnny Beer,
Yes.
who was a frequent attendee of the podcast. We saw him. We've seen him at multiple events in New Hampshire.
Nice.
And we actually saw him at the ACBF.
Yep. Nice.
Brian and I threw out a casual invite to Johnny Beer to be a special guest host on the show with us if he was interested for a show.
That'd be cool.
He tweeted us feeling that that our decision and thought process may not have been true and honest, but he's more than welcome to join us.
Due to the beer.
No, I think that would be fun. I'm okay with that. I'm giving it a thumbs up, Johnny.
Yes.
Do it. You should totally do it.
A viewers and listeners show would be awesome.
He doesn't have a webcam, but he may be audio only, which would be the first time that we've had an audio only guest host.
He'll just have to find an appropriately inappropriate picture of himself to put as an icon, so that anytime he speaks, it's something like ridiculous, like a rat smoking a cigar or something. You know what I mean? Like he has to pick something that's outrageous if he's not going to actually have his video.
Like a raccoon eating out of a trash can.
Yeah,
for sure.
Or like
the Great Outdoors.
Steve has seen a pestilence.
Oh my! Well, besides raccoons, anyone else have anything to say before we shut this thing down? I will close it by saying happy birthday on Thursday to our one and only number one fan, Rick Bruce, on Twitter.
Whoa! 21 again.
I was just gonna say turn the big 2-1. So get in there, Rick Bruce. But Carla and Sean, thanks for another show, and we'll see you guys. Next week, and cheers.
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 Main beer dinner, June 20th.